I think one of the things that bubbles to mind immediately is kind of this checks and balances, and I think that's one of the interesting things that's emerging is that 60 Minutes is now checked by bloggers, and there's stories emerge from that, because there's this give and take, and so I think there's even this war within the two, and so how do you and from a campaign perspective, there's different ways you handle each thing, and I think that's what some of the earlier panels have touched on is that bloggers in particular have fewer resources, but they do have certain advantages in that they don't have deadlines necessarily. They don't have editors who are going to be checking everything. They don't have to have 4 sources. They hear something, they put it up, and see where it takes them. And so I think it's a totally different paradigm. And now we're seeing new media or old media starting to adopt some of that by having some of their own blogs and things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, on a happier day, I like to think that we're kind of in a new progressive era, and you look at our society, and activism is up, especially among young people, and people are re-engaging, and we have kind of a new spirit of muckraking. And I like to think sometimes that new media is driving that a lot, and actually, as you allude to, forcing old media to clean up its act. Even though newsrooms are being cut all over the country, you do see a kind of resurgence of investigative journalism. You see that happening, and I think that's really, really important, because I think that media was getting really sloppy there for a while, and that one of the best things that grassroots media has done, I think in particular, Talking Points memo of Josh Marshall and his team of muckraking journalists, they've really, really forced traditional media to be more accountable. On the other hand, I think that just the sheer need to fill the news cycle is actually our worst enemy. I mean, there's just too much time to fill on cable news. And so I think what we see now is the stories that shouldn't be stories become stories. And I think that's actually the biggest problem. It's not exactly addressing your question, but I think it's something we need to all think about, which is that when we have 24 hours of news, is that really good for us?